Dobrý den, and thank you very much for being here in another episode of Just Checking, your podcast and cultural platform about identity, culture, belonging, inclusion. Today, we're going to take a little bit of a travel in time because before inclusion, before culture, before identity, and actually before belonging, there is something that has existed and that has transcended in this world, which is sound. There are artists that express themselves through images, another ones through mechanics and different instruments. And today I'm honored to be with TOMAŠ DVOŘák, an artist that I admire deeply because not only the technical aspect of your work, because of the way you have constructed music. Let us start from the beginning with a very simple question. Why, since very young, you were attracted to the world of music and sounds? What made you decide this is an expression that I want to educate myself in and build upon time?
Hello and nice to meet you. To answer your question, I think there are maybe two important stages. Like one was really like very, very long time ago, like maybe when I was 4, 5, 6, I had that natural inclination, but I think many children do. Maybe what was interesting that actually in Czech Republic we have actually a very good system of schools for music,
Mhm.
and I was not the child that my parents put into some school and I would suffer. It was actually opposite. I had to kind of convince them because I really love the music. So it was like very early on, like I had this inclination. And when I was older, I was also a little bit crazy because I could do like, I was on my own at home and I would put some music on and I would do like concerts for myself and lots of kind of like children stuff, which was
Yeah.
quite unusual. So I had this inclination, but I think what was really important for me later on when I was like in early teenage age, it was like I was experiencing magic of creation. Basically, I was like we got some early computer because I'm pretty old. I'm almost 50, and
Same.
okay, so you are
We
my
are from
kind
the
of
same era.
generation. So we are this kind of generation who transferred from this vintage into digital. So I would have got that computer and I could, for the first time on the very primitive, like by the very primitive means, I would be able to experience making music because I started to do music from maybe 6 years. I learned clarinet, but when I was around maybe kind of 15 or something like that. I got this software for making music and I tried to do it and I kind of figure out first of all how things work, and it was like magical for me to discover all these things. I discovered this incredible feeling of satisfaction when you create something actually. So all these kind of details, and also I find out like about nuances of music, like that some people kind of mimic something that already was done. And I kind of discovered that it's called commercial music, and I found out it's not for me. And I want to go this journey to do something different and try to discover new worlds. And finally, to say it was magical time because it was start of electronic music in sense like that home studios were possible for people, which means like you can do music on your own. You can like realize your dreams without anybody else, which is
Yes.
for people like me, like quite introverted, and also like this kind of possibility you can realize it on your own. It was also like another magical moment for me. So that's what attracted me to music a lot.
You've given me so much content to build upon different questions.
Mhm.
And let me try to dissect part of the comments. You said I was very young and it was a way in which I could create my own space. So that early motivation was creating your own world in which you could express yourself, or actually the attraction to specific sounds? There are two different reasons. Which one would be closer to you?
Well, I think it's maybe not like this or that. It's connected for me because I often use the word sound universes, because especially in case of my music, or even like what was the breakthrough for electronic music in the beginning, it was like a new sound possibilities. So if I kind of imagine it in my head, it's like you have this universe and there are few colors, and suddenly it's like incredible range of colors you can use,
Yeah.
and you have new like colors and new palette to express. So it's very important that music I'm doing, it's not just thinking in notes. Like if you would transcribe it into classical score, it's just very little part of it. There's much more in it, and it's the sound. And this is what attracted me very much. I was like, just shocked what's possible, and what new like colors are possible to use.
This question is not in the script, but is related to the electronic music field.
Yeah.
I'm also educated in music, obviously far away from the achievements that you have made, but I understand some of the concepts. At least where I come from, some people still resist to electronic music. Let's think of Mexico, because we are very much inclined on folk and the nature of the instruments and the emotion and singing, very old fashioned, right? And some people are afraid of electronic music because they say that music perhaps doesn't have that connection to the emotion as we traditionally express. It is a change, right? It is a before and after. Of course, I believe that electronic music does have a feeling and allows you to experiment even further. What is your take on that? On the various opinions on electronic music? If it's art, if it's only an innovation of sound, what is your take?
I think it's just everybody's think what he likes, and music is always, it's very important to understand that music is not just about one side, like either artist or the receiver. It's music, it's utmost like communication on emotional level. So it's like you have some inclination to some person, and you kind of have a natural like kind vibes with this person, and some other you don't have it. I think it's the same as the music. Like it's not like there is the music on the right music, so it's absolutely fine for them that they have this taste or they have this feeling. In general, I think, but I think nowadays it's understood. It's also very different because people have this different specializations, and I don't blame anybody, because even like if you take a music on its own, like it's so much diverse. So even like if people are there and they are actually musicians, they just maybe understand the fraction of it. So you can't even like blame normal people for not understanding, for example, electronic music, because it's also very diverse. There is lots of shitty stuff, commercial stuff, and so on, and it's just over the surface. And there is lots of deep music, and there is this big range, like in any other music.
There is a fair answer. Depending on your experience with electronic music, you may have X or Y opinion to it, right?
Yeah.
And if you connect to it or not. Let's go to a philosophical principle. Do you believe people belong to a place, or do people belong to a memory of a sound that they had since childhood?
I think it's both actually.
This is not a philosophical podcast. This is a podcast to get to know you, right? So
I have to tell you about one thing about the memory and music. It's very, very personal and it's very individual. So maybe I don't directly answer a question, but I have to tell you, like, I have also like very deep experience with some music, and it was just because it was some part of my history. Like it was just, for example, very, very emotional album for me is Selected Ambient Works by Aphex Twin. It's very, very, very famous album. and it was the first CD I bought, and it was, you can imagine, it was in the time like it was like crazy to get this CD. It was like in my country, like quite shortly after the revolution, there was just one shop you can get it, and it was like, I even didn't know what it exactly it is. I just know the interpret, but I didn't know what it is, and I was shocked by this music. It was very very emotional. Actually, for many people, very depressive. I remember I I gave this album to my friend, and he told me after 2 songs he couldn't listen to it because he would jump from the window. But if you listen to this album now, you think it's absolutely normal because our norms for emotions and stuff also changed,
Have transcended
you
and
know?
changed. Yes,
So it's
completely.
very interesting, and but for me, it's so deeply like connected
Mm,
with some part of my life because I
mm.
was small, and this was like the most precious thing I had. I listened to it over and over, and it's it's very emotional. So like even now, if I listen to it, I got the goosebumps. But I'm sure that if I would just maybe discover this album 2 years ago, it would maybe attract me, but there would be not such a like super hard emotional
In such a
reaction.
strong way.
Yeah, to your
You know,
question, you know?
Thomas, it gave me chills that answer. And I'm gonna tell you why. I come from a capitalist country. I come from Mexico. Still, Mexico being so big, every region will be developed in a different way. I come from the south.
Mhm.
I was born in a place called Veracruz, which is a huge port, but I was raised in a very small place called Campeche. Imagine the tropics. It is a city of that back then didn't even have 100,000 million people, which for us is a village,
Yep,
taking into account that our cities are millions,
yep.
right? And there was only one shop that would get CDs back
Mhm.
then. And I remember UB40, different types of artists, but that I would know them through MTV, which we didn't have publicly, but we needed to meet in the house of a friend with a parabolic anthem, and we were
Yeah.
chasing the sounds and recording with our beta videos just because there was something new and it meant something to us. It was our sound. So I will be one of those who would go to the shop waiting for the album of X or Y. Just the experience of listening through MTV, waiting for the album to come, being ordering maybe from the US, and then you have it and then you don't know what to do with it and then you're listening to it and it hits you. My question is, what do you think of the speed of availability of new artists? Younger generations, they don't have to wait. They don't have that mystery of what the album is going to sound. They already have all of the information available even before they listen to it. Because they listen to the interviews, there is the marketing, there is the Instagram. How that process would be today for or how do you believe the younger generations contrast the process that you and I are describing on the expectation? Because that is important in the inspiration, what you create in your mind while you're waiting.
Honestly, I don't know, like, it's definitely very different, and I'm, of course, thinking about this a lot. It's a big change. It's just all the medias are flooded by just quant incredible quantity of music, and I don't know what is the experience of younger people of the music, or how they connect, but I think they
Mm.
definitely they have also like a emotional connection to some music. So it's not like, but it's different. It's definitely, this process is different. So I think there is one maybe interesting aspect in this, and this may be also some way to deeper connection, and we get back a little bit in the loop to the beginning of our like talk. I think there is a bigger availability for people to create things, which I think is good, because that experience is very, in my opinion, it's very healing for your soul. So whoever like is doing something like creatively, it's, I think, very good thing to do. So if you think about it, like when I started to do, for example, electronic music a long time ago, it was absolutely crazy to achieve it. I already knew what I want to do for many years, but I couldn't do it because I didn't have money for it. Because, for example, like to buy sampler, which is some basic tool to do music, it was like 4,000 euros in that time. So it was crazy amount of money. So I was really like struggling, and on top of that, you didn't know what to do. Like, what is the good tool? Because, like, for example, in my country, we were totally isolated. I didn't even know like what kind of tools should I use. Like, now it's just funny because you hit Google or whatever, and you have like on YouTube, you have like crazy amount of people who are still not. They don't have big or even like little experience of like that craft, and they already make different videos and tutorials for people. But what I want to say is because people are doing more things on their own, they are creating stuff. Through this experience, I think they can find deeper connection to music and somebody they would love. So for me, this is the path, and there is kind of gray zone between people who create and who receive. It's kind of melting together a bit. So I think this is maybe the good point and path in this like vast amount of things which we are now experiencing.
Let us now talk about your recent times.
Mhm.
Your motivation to create music is to express some emotion or to remember a past memory.
Memory comes naturally, in my opinion. It just naturally appears. So it's definitely the first thing, and it also depends what I'm doing because some projects are I do lots of audiovisual stuff, as you know. So I work on lots of soundtracks and stuff, and then then means there is image, which kind of stimulates you or gives you that space where to work. So it's a complex thing.
I always connect sometimes music or the power of sound with the power of language because they come from sound, or still there is a connotate. It's a cognitive process that is expressed through sound. What would be the sound of Czech language in terms of music? How would you express, or how would you describe?
It's interesting question because actually I did few lectures on music for people, and I have a few crazy theories about music, but it's just basically because different approach to music making can give you different results, and I have some kind of original or maybe just weird ideas how to deal with the music just to get other results. And one of them is I actually try to compare language to music, but more like structurally, emotionally. Because even like if you say some sentence, you can see there are the each word has some kind of function and it gives some meaning together. So even like if you build some piece of music, you can think about it like that because different chords lead to somewhere and they have different functions, and then they can provide different like emotion. So you can think about it like that. If you are thinking, for example, what next chord should be or how this another part of the musical form should be, you can think about it like in this kind of semantic way. Like it's like, is it like question or is it like answer in the sense of sentences, but also like in the sense of different words, like what function of this chord is, is it like subject of that whole thing or is it like you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So if I should compare to Czech language, Czech is very complicated. So it's very complex kind of.
Znám,
Yeah.
to je moc komplikované pro mě.
Exactly. So I think it wouldn't be easy sentence and a more complex kind of structure probably.
And again, I'm gonna use some example because I'm also in that process of discovery of the power of sounds and music. I am an amateur completely. The last song that I composed was a single paragraph in which I'm saying thanks to God for blah blah blah. But I sing it then. It's the melody has 5 chords
Mhm.
and it's on piano and it's more of a classic sound. But then I sing it in 10 languages.
Mhm.
And every time I listen to it, I realize that every language poses a complete different impact
Yeah.
to me. And it's got to do with the construct that you just described.
Also, like it's interesting. Like if you see person speaking more languages, it got the totally different personality. So it's really interesting, like how
That's
it
why we are
works.
here in a podcast.
So I think it's definitely giving you different structure of thinking and emotions.
Your
Right.
elasticity is completely different.
I think Czechs are maybe a little bit like melancholic deep, I would say.
Very.
It's
Yes.
maybe like some of the emotions, and solitaire also in art. It's
Individual,
yeah,
yes.
more individual, less than we didn't create much of a styles, and they were the most important people were not the one who created big movements, but the one which would be out of any movement. Like even if you see in visual art in communistic times, for example,
Yeah.
I think it's because we had lots of like hundreds of years of different like situations. We were under some rule, maybe I don't know, but like even if you check the communistic times, which we were absolutely isolated, and there was some weak connection to what was happening in art outside, but the people, most important and interesting people, were absolutely solitary people. You know?
Most
So
I was with a friend, Josef Brosch, and he took me to the National Gallery. And there was a painting that in just with a quick glance didn't mean anything to me. He said, pay attention to that. And it looked like it was a white painting with a few shadows symmetrically positioned. And then when he explained to me that this person was under communism and that he felt so much pressure that his image of escape was heaven, it just I just felt how powerful that was and how different from any other trend or line of thought was. So I completely agree with you.
So I think it's also like a kind of thing in the music nowadays,
Yeah.
although it's not so much easy to kind of track it because there are many people who try to still do music like like in electronic music. It's not so apparent nowadays because it's also like that we had the in 90s and then later we had this kind of styles like coming from UK, which are very much connected with the subculture. So of course there were many people who tried to like mimic it, but then
Yeah.
the most interesting people are like weirdos, solitaires, and they are not totally connected with some style. I think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
still there.
Still there, yeah. If Prague disappears tomorrow, what sound will prove that actually Prague existed?
Oh,
It is one of my funny questions. And you had them in the script. You're making me laugh, actually.
I think what maybe is there is still the river, and we have a big connection to the river, like in even like
This
in the history of our music. So I think I would go from there.
the Valtava sound, the Valtava
Some kind
song
of sound which reflects the flow of
of the
of
river.
water,
Yes, that song
basically.
is beautiful. The first time I heard it, I was like, it is like a flow.
Yeah, the
It
flow
it
is very
is.
interesting topic in music for me. It's very
Yes,
hard to achieve. You can like
yes, yes.
it's. I could speak about it for hours, actually, really, because it's a big.
Tell us something about it. What? Share something.
Well, it's very different. For example, like I will give you one example, which was for me eye opening. It's I experienced or I had some part in my career where I was trying to be in some bands who were purely based on improvisation. So that's like you come and you don't know what it's going to be, and you just play. And we were trying to figure out music through this kind of process, and it's absolutely a different result because it goes in time, and you don't have like a discrete kind of parts of music. I could say blocks. You know, like if you compose the
Mhm.
song, you often, which is the negative or wrong thing where you end up, but it's very very easy to end up in this trap. You have like a blocks of music because you think in the form, like you have like A, B, C, B, you know, whatever. Like it's just part of the form, and you think about these blocks, and you use some tricks, but you still have this kind of blocks of music. But if you do improvisation, you don't often get that because people are kind of more through some light steps achieving that development of music, and you have this kind of incredible flow because there's some kind of micro communication between the people who are in the band. So you get absolutely different result. And for me, like one of the very hard criteria also in electronic music is to get that kind of flow, which is more like smooth. So that it's like naturally like kind of music goes, and you don't really like realize there are like some like sudden changes.
Some transitions, some sort of
Yes.
like a DJ set
I
that
mean, more
ultimately
like
has.
it's more natural, and
Uh-huh.
also it's much more harder in electronic music because you often introduce sampled instruments and
Mhm.
sounds, and you don't easily develop them. Like if you play clarinet, you can, if you would have just traditional instruments, you can easily like continue with these sounds into the next part of the song. But often you don't have that in electronic music because you just get that sample, and then
Mhm.
sample is not used in the next part of the song. So it's even like more trickier. But I may be going into too much details, but the flow of music is really interesting topic for me to do because finally, one more thing I would say about it is, in my music, I don't maybe do like the typical electronic music because original electronic music was very repetitive and loop based,
Yeah.
and I always try to break through this and do more complex forms. But then you have this problem, even like more apparent to how to get that kind of flow. You know.
Doing the whole research about you and watching and listening, because perhaps some of your shows are also to be watched. As you know, you have a lot of elements, right?
Mhm.
I recall that how the sequence was very different to anything that I have heard, and congrats on that. It is inspiring. You talked about getting sometimes albums from when you were saying, when the Iron Curtain came down and there was only one place to buy CDs, blah blah blah. And those albums created some emotion on some people. That's a responsibility sometimes, right? Because you influence how people feel
Yeah.
when they really care about your music, or maybe they don't care when they simply connect and they found those strings of emotions that you were trying to either convey or feel. What is the role of the artist in terms of responsibility with his audience
Mhm.
or her audience whenever a piece of work is out?
Yeah. So first of all, I think the most important, I don't make music to
Mhm.
satisfy audience. And at the same time, I'm trying to do music which doesn't have a result or
Uh-huh.
yeah, goal basically
Mhm.
in this sense, or to serve some like function basically. So that's, I think, very important to be like honest in this.
Mhm.
And then I think you don't need to think about the audience. Like if you are honest to yourself, like about the reasons why you are doing this basically. And it's often not easy to do. Like sometimes it's struggle, to be honest. Especially if I do my own music, it's because you have this kind of two things you try to balance. You don't want to shut yourself, like you don't want to close yourself inside because you are too critical on yourself, and because it's very important that you have still fun, and and it opens yourself and develops the music actually if you have like this kind of uplifting moment in the studio, but not everything what you do is good, so you also have to be able to reflect it. So it's sometimes hard to balance these two
Yeah.
aspects, to be still like I have the tendency to be very critical to myself. So actually, for me, it's the biggest topic to kind of still like be able to develop the music and a little bit put this critic away, so I can move farther.
Okay. Another question that perhaps wasn't on the script, but is very relevant now that you said you're very critical to you. At what point you know I need to stop changing the song? It is ready. Because sometimes critical minds can be, oh, I cannot this now new arrangement.
Yeah.
Or I need to change the tempo here. Or I'm gonna make a silence because you work a lot with silence. How do you say, okay, enough? Enough, Thomas. This is it. This is the song.
It's not even like when it's finished, but like even like if you decided to continue some song,
Uh-huh.
and it's usually like either it's combination of things. It's not one thing, but very important is of course if it's somehow touching, you think it's somehow like interesting, like just musically, but also like its originality. Because like recently I tried to work on some of my own songs and I had to stop it because I would do like many versions of it, and none of these were like interesting for me because it was like I heard this so many times. So it's sometimes hard to find that kind of original way for your music, and it's one of the criteria for me, very important criteria, that there is something like different in the music for me. Of course, it's some people say that's just like what they heard for thousand times. That's fair. Like for me, like I'm still trying to look some kind of balance of these things. So that's very important criteria, I would say. That feeling of satisfaction because you made something different or you find some story about it. And to be honest, like that's what also is very helpful for me to do soundtracks, because especially for example with Amanita, sometimes I struggle with it because it's not in some way music I would normally do, especially because it's sometimes a little bit more like playful and kind
Mhm.
of cartoon like or childish sometimes.
Happier,
Yeah.
joyful, yeah.
And I'm in my own music I'm looking for that. But what is very good for me, it moves me to some places I wouldn't ever think I would go. Because for example, like some projects I worked with Amanita, they are uh, beautiful visually and very original, and they are just like what I said before, like you have this imagination of colorful
Mhm.
sound world, and they are doing that in the visual visual part. So for me, it's very easy to connect with it and develop something different. So actually nowadays I'm often thinking that it was a really big inspiration because it pushed me somewhere else, and in my head it's like colorful, and it's what maybe I'm also looking for. Like if I have like this gray feeling in my head from some music I did, it's not usually the track I will be developing
Mhm.
rather.
Again, coming now to your current process, when you compose music, are you more interested in the combination of notes and making something excited relating to the notes? Or do you believe in creating an atmospheric space? Or maybe you just want to focus on beauty, something that is beautiful that you want to show? What of the three elements, rank them? What would be number one, number two, number three? Or maybe there is another one.
No, it's more like it's again like combination of all. People I think often think about in many things like it's just the one thing, but
I'm not saying
actually
there is one. I'm saying
yeah, yeah,
rank
of course.
them.
Sorry, I didn't want to like
No, no,
in
no,
this way,
no,
but
no.
just I'm trying to point out that it's our general kind of maybe inclination. We try to look some for some clue and
Mhm.
it's like this thing which is like, it's not like usually that. At least for me, like in music, it's
Mhm.
usually a combination of these things, because you have to have, like, first of all, good music, like good harmony. So this would be, in that sense, would be that kind of part of a note or score what you spoke about. Then you want to have a interesting sound and production, which is big part of my like job, because I'm all the time looking for this beautiful, like, sound worlds what we spoke about. And uh, and the emotion, it's not just one emotion, it's like a very big range of the things. If you say, for example, happy, which is, by the way, quite a hard emotion to express, because often you can fall into very, like, cheesy thing.
Mhm.
You can have, like, many scales of just this one emotion.
Mhm.
So it's just to find the right one. It's also not easy
Mhm.
job to do, of course. And this is what you want to communicate through these other two what we spoke about.
But maybe you gave me the answer. You said, "I'm always trying to create something beautiful."
Maybe I'm not
It's a
sure if I want
motivation.
to try to
You said
always.
it just now. It
It
is in the
was
video.
it was an example of some of the thing I'm looking for, but beauty can be also hidden under the depth of ash and something very, like,
I
delicate,
agree.
and
I
then it's more
agree.
beautiful actually,
I
because you find
agree.
that beautiful stone under that ash.
I agree.
So it's not also so easy.
Yeah, talking about traditional concepts is very different the way we see it. That beauty can be anywhere. It's how you see it, right? Or how you manifest it. Thank you. I think I got it. You work closely on soundtracks, as you said. I come from Mexico.
Hmm.
If you were gonna make a soundtrack about Mexico, how will be the first opening song?
Well, I'm not so educated in Mexican music, but it's
Based on
definitely
Mexico.
definitely very emotional and colorful. So it would be very saturated, I would say.
And what about the soundtrack of the Czech Republic?
It would be
The
more
first sound.
It would be more shady, I think, and a little bit kind of yeah, mm, melancholic and so on. I would say,
Very contrasting, right?
yeah.
And here we are talking. The creative process sometimes requires, at least for me, and again, I'm not even comparing, I'm talking about my own experience. When I try to create something, I require some solitude. I need to be first initially alone to understand my thoughts. And is that the same case for you? And if so, how do you work in that solitude? Or how is the start of your creative process?
Well, I often don't work only in the studio in some sense. Like, if people say that there were these composers who were getting these ideas on the walk in the forest and so on. It's this, like, romantic, like, imaginations.
Yes.
It's not maybe like that in my case, but especially because I'm often thinking. Of course, you can sometimes get some idea for the melody and so on, but often it's something different levels of the song. Let's say one of them is like, actually, I already started something, and then it's like a puzzle. So, like, you create some situation, and then you are thinking how to resolve it, and there are different maybe problems or
Hmm.
something that you are thinking about, or you maybe can't resolve some part of the song, or all this stuff, and it kind of goes subconsciously through the day, and then maybe you get the idea how in the morning what to try, and it's often not like the melody. It's a structure, feelings, emotions, instrumentation, like, or some trick you want to try in the song. All these things, mixture of these things is the result for that. So I need of course, my work is naturally very, like, I need to be alone in the studio and work like that, and I need to concentrate, but I bring there some ideas and things which I kind of gathered in my daily life, basically. And often very helpful, actually. But I have also, like, full like this, this diary. In iPhone there is this possibility to dictaphone or audio like diary where you can record your audio. So it's full of like crazy kind of singing and stuff, and also like speech, like where you write, like say like I would like to make it like that and so on. So of course it's there. Oh yeah, we are the same. Yeah.
And I'm like tick 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 tick. And this I use then at home. Again, I'm not comparing. It's just to share.
Yeah.
This is just sharing, okay?
Yeah, of course.
From admiration. Or I'm like la 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 la. Just trying to make a note that later on I do photography. That's what I do well. But even the sounds that I record or the words help me to then get inspiration to set an image. It's all connected. In the end, it's how you see the world and where you find beauty. And I agree, it's a multiple entry process. I was gonna continue with the topic of home. This podcast is also about identity and about belonging and about culture. So now I think we understood slightly your creative process, and we thank you for that. When do you feel most at home?
It was a joke. Like the home is where is my like hard disk, which was like.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
I just wanted to make a joke. Like the word
No, please come on. This is your forum.
Like home is where is my hard drive, because this is where is my studio, because I feel the most home where I can like do my music, to be honest. So it's easy like that. I don't feel particularly attached to some place. I hope it doesn't like make you sad or whatever, but it's like that.
I'm not sad. I'm completely nervous.
Sorry.
To get to know you. I'm in a good way. I'm really excited.
Just to say, like I don't feel attached to some particular place, to be honest. But I love to. On the other side, I'm very happy that I'm in Czech Republic, because it's very beautiful balance of quality of life, and I'm very happy that we have a seasons, for example.
Yes.
That there is like winter and there is like summer and these things, and there is beautiful nature. So it's always good, but I don't feel attached to it that much, and I think it's good thing to do in life, to not to be attached to some place.
Yes. I also consider the Czech Republic my home. And it's also a secondary layer of this podcast. It's a love letter to a country that is hosting me as an expert. And it's an obligation to give back and to. I mean, this podcast is watched by more than 20 countries. I've been very lucky, because this is luck, right? Your message can transcend or not. You can make a mistake and people hate you. Who knows? But the fact that it's getting that response and the contribution to showcase a little bit of the country makes me feel happy. And that's why we're here. If belonging to a home or to a place had a soundtrack, what would it be?
I think it would be. I don't have this romantic idea of belonging to some place, so
It's from your point of view.
My answer, previous answer.
It's from your point of view, of course.
Yeah. I think that's the emotion that people shouldn't develop. It's not good. I know it may not be a nice answer for some people, but I think people shouldn't be attached to some place. I think it's a weakness, actually, in a way, because you can deal with situations in your life where you will need to change your place. It's very, my origin, or my very very strong background is Taoistic background, and you have it everywhere in the Taoistic philosophy. You shouldn't be attached to other any place and so on, and that's for a reason. And if I see my teachers, they are traveling, I think on purpose. They are changing their place every 5 or 10 years on purpose. They are changing over the planet. Just, I think part of it is this non-attachment to the place, and I'm not so far with it, but I don't definitely develop it. like this kind of attachment. I know that on the other side, I think it's important to. I think if it's possible, people maybe should try to support that local place where they live,
Hmm.
and that's very important. And sometimes not easy, but I think that should be their first like attitude. But if it's not working, they can change it. But I think we shouldn't develop that kind of emotional attachment to some place.
During my research, now I cannot recall, but have you lived abroad extensive periods? Have you lived extensive periods of time outside of the Czech Republic? I don't remember I found that in your
I lived for a while in Hungary and
in Magyarország.
yeah,
Igen.
but not really. I was not so adventurous, but again, like it's at least I'm not trying to develop that kind of attitude. Yeah.
In your evolution of artistry, what is still are yet to be done? What is still you're curious about to explore? What new ideas are coming to your mind that because you can once you reach a level, the horizon opens, right? Because you reach something. I want to do something else, and then I want to do something else. What is the future for you?
It's very complicated because yeah, I want to find some actually internal balance where I really have this really actually we get back to this topic we spoke about a little bit before. Uh, I work on soundtracks and these are usually not a issue in terms of like to get the resulted music, but in case of my own music, it's usually much more complicated, and you can see it from that long periods when my own music is being released. But I try to keep that continuation of the music, even it's sometimes really long periods. So one goal I would like to get is more actually continuous flow of my own music. Not to release that every album is 10 or more years because it's interrupted by many other works, and I want because often it's for me very problematic to do it and to dive into that world. And it's sometimes really funny. Like if I think about the last album that I did with TOMAŠ, which is last of my own like music. It's like you you usually start with the sketches. That's not the problem. You have like a basic piece of music which you can create in a few hours. But then that's the way I work. I create many of these sketches, and then I choose one of these songs, and decided it's the one which is really interesting, and it needs to be or it can be developed, and then it takes lots of time to figure it out. And it's also like that kind of sound world where it should be. So if you work on that, usually the first part of that process is the hard, because you try to find that kind of space for it. So if I think, for example, in terms of John Doe, I spent big amount of time over first one or two songs before I figure it out. I just thought it's not right there, and then I kind of put together that means, and suddenly it was there. And so later, when I started to develop the other songs, it was much easier. So and that's how the album was made. But if I should now, if somebody would tell me create another song for that album, I think honestly it would be that struggle like it was in the beginning for some reason. I don't know why. It's just like you dive into that space, you are in it,
Yeah.
and then it kind of kicks you out, and you are away again. You know,
The
and
vulnerability maybe of of
I don't
that
know.
process.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but getting back to your question, I would like to stay in that flow of my music.
Good.
Would be my goal, because you get into that at that point where you have really fun and you don't struggle. And when you are in that point, like nice things starts to happen. Like there is lots of random things which starts to naturally happen. It's like you are in that flow and things start to happen. But until you are kind of discovering and struggle to get inside, it's usually not there. Like so, I would like to. My goal is to stay in this flow
This
and
flow.
have fun with my music and achieve satisfaction, which means like I feel about that music very well. And I know it's a very abstract answer to your question, but that's my goal, like to stay in that kind of state in the future.
We are getting to know you. I have two more questions.
Mhm.
You mentioned that you believe it is important that people give back to the communities in which they are, and that's critical to me. Uh, this podcast, of course, is watched by many expats because I'm an expat, right? And it is in English, so it's easier for them to actually relate. I also believe that expats have a responsibility to contribute back to the host country. What do you think we all, locals, expats, whoever is in the Czech Republic, could do or should do to improve our community in Prague? Let's say Prague.
Okay.
What are the things that, as your ideas, would be nice to see to improve the way we live? Because it's a relevant topic.
Uh, I'm not probably saying something new and original, but I strongly believe you need to start, or I need to start with yourself, with myself. You can't change the world, Lily. And if you get dragged by that kind of emotional dramas and of the daily life, you get kind of destroyed only, and you won't achieve anything most of the times. But you can, I think, make big change in your life and for your surroundings if you work on yourself and if you like
So
start
true.
with yourself. So that would be my general answer.
Don't say sorry again. It's a fair answer, and I agree with you. If you don't master your own mind, you cannot do anything, right? So start with you. And then we were going to close with the director's cut, which is your upcoming album.
Yeah.
Can you tell to the audience a little bit more about it? Because this is going to be the first time that many Mexicans, Brazilians, Icelandic people who are watching this will get to know you. Even though you're very well known, people perhaps know you more as Floex, but this is more
Yeah.
of a personal talk. What is coming next? Tell us.
Oh, thank you for the question. I'm really excited about it because it's an interesting story. I started developing a very different way how to perform my music live a few years ago. I always had some band and so on, and it was like electronic band. We would have like drums and singer and so on.
Mhm.
But the number of tracks which are soundtrack based
Mhm.
accumulated through the time, and actually most of the people actually are more into that music than my own albums sometimes or often. So I developed that small modern classical ensemble. There is like six players, three strings, vibraphone, bass clarinet, and clarinet. And it started like we tried to play the music. I do like pure electronic, very much acoustically.
Mhm.
And it was just for one concert in the beginning, but it was such a fun that we started to develop it.
Mhm.
And quite soon after, my colleague joined us, and it was very important. It's a composer and arranger called, his name is Jan Schickel, and he started to work with us. And he also worked on many arrangements for ensemble. And at some point, we decided that we should make album together because there was like good energy. And actually, when you work with somebody, for me, it's very important that other person has something but you don't have. So you don't kind of duplicate your
Yeah, the
possibilities,
same strengths. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's what I had like always the best experience with some corporation was like that. Like when I worked, for example, with TOMAŠ, he had powers which I didn't have, and the opposite. So it was totally like a good combination. And it's the same with Jan, because we just didn't wanted to only play music which was already on the albums, but create something for the ensemble. Like so, it comes really from that live group and not from some constructed music. So what we did, we created the music from scratch for the ensemble, meaning we went to the studio and recorded the music live and then worked around the electronics and so on. So it's also it may sound like normal process, but for me it's very different actually, because I always worked in my studio and I work like person who create collages, who puts different pieces together. Some are like live recorded, and I maybe record it on my own, or bring somebody to the studio. I construct it and sound design it. Sometimes it's a very complex process how I put things together in my studio. But this kind of situation, I constructed the songs with Jan like sketches or rough versions, and then there was already electronic, but we had already like a score for the ensemble. And then we went to the studio, recorded, and then we kind of are finishing the process. It's sounds very usual, but for me it's very different. So I was also like the part of the ensemble, like on the performance side, which is also for me unusual because they are like pro musicians. They play in the top orchestras in Czech Republic and so on. So I just to kind of keep up with them was not so easy for me, but it was really fun, and I'm looking forward. And finally, that album is called Director's Cut because it's quite conceptual. It's about it's a metaphor of a process of filmmaking, and especially way how we see life, because actually it's very conceptual. So it's like only tracks are like director 1, director 2, director 3. It is only the names of the tracks.
I love the name.
And it's because it's about, we have some themes and we are trying to kind of interpret it in different ways. It's like different people see the life in many different ways. Like the directors would work on one topic in very different ways. So it's all the metaphor of that album.
Of that expressive process, right?
Yeah.
When it's gonna be out, just for our audience?
It should be out in August, hopefully.
Coming soon right now. TOMAŠ, has been an honor meeting you, and you cannot imagine how grateful I am for the time that you have given to Just Checking. And for the audience, I see you soon for another episode of Just Checking and talks about identity, belonging, culture, inclusion. Děkuji moc a těším. Uvidíme se. Nasledanou.